ever considered the intricate connection between how and what you eat and your mood? Hi, I'm Marcel Rose, emotional and disordered eating specialist, nutritionist and coach. And today I'm going to be looking into the connection between how and what we eat and how it affects our mood, which then goes on to impact our eating behaviour. It's important to really understand the role of these critical nutrients in terms of our mental health and well-being, because we talk a lot about how nutrients are really important for our physical well-being, but we often omit the important part and important role that they play in our mental well-being. So just like a well-tuned engine that needs its fuel, our brain also needs the raw materials to create neurotransmitters, which are brain chemicals, and hormones that all play a role in our brain health and our mood. So let's take a look at some of the key nutrients and the foods where you can find them in your diet to help reduce the sort of nutritional chaos going on in your diet. So we need to think about also what's happening if we are having insufficient amounts of certain nutrients and how this is playing a role, not only obviously in how you're feeling, but also your eating behavior. So let's have a look at amino acids. Now, these are actually the building blocks of protein, and they play a really critical role in the production of these neurotransmitters, which are basically these chemical messages. They transmit signals between the nerve cells and the brain, and there are several key amino acids involved in this production of neurotransmitters. So I'm just going to look at a few of them here. First of all, we have tryptophan. You may have heard of tryptophan. It is the raw material needed to make serotonin, and serotonin you've probably heard of as this neurotransmitter, which is very much associated with mood and also sleep and appetite control. It's often known as that happy hormone. So, so people who are taking antidepressants very much involved in trying to make more of that serotonin available for them. So that's tryptophan. We have tyrosine, which is a raw material for both dopamine and noradrenaline. And dopamine plays a role in that pleasure and reward and motivation that we often use food to seek, to seek that dopamine hit. Whereas noradrenaline is involved very much in the body's stress response. So we have, really important to have the raw materials to create these neurotransmitters. We have another one called phenylalanine, and this is a precursor also to those same neurotransmitters, and it's also converted into tyrosine, which I just mentioned. So, there is a lot of different nutrients that feed into and play in this whole complex cycle. We also have glutamine, and this is an important precursor for something called GABA. It's GABA for short. I won't bore you with the long name, but it's a neurotransmitter that has these inhibitory effects on the brain. It's a very calming neurotransmitter, and it's really important in helping reduce anxiety and promoting relaxation. And all these amino acids can be found in a variety of particularly protein-rich foods. So this includes meats, dairy products, eggs, soy, nuts, seeds, and some vegetables. But you'll find that, it's easier to get a good array and mix of amino acids in if you are having a diet rich in particularly the animal proteins. So if you are vegetarian or vegan, you really have to take care to ensure that you're getting a good array of all the amino acids into your diet. But we also have key micronutrients. So micronutrients are either vitamins or minerals that are very involved in another way. So we have our B vitamins. Now, there are an array of B vitamins, and some of them have a unique role in maintaining our mental health. One of them is vitamin B6, and it is very much involved in the metabolism of estrogen and progesterone and can really help maintain hormonal balance. And we know that estrogen and progesterone fluctuations can really play a role in our moods, as you might know, during your menstrual cycle, and certainly also during perimenopause when you see changes going on there. And this can be found very much in multiple foods, particularly in things like chickpeas, bananas, poultry, so chicken and turkey. You can sometimes find it in fortified cereals as well, but it's really plays an essential role in converting also that amino acid tryptophan that we talked about into serotonin. So we need that B6 for that as well. And we have also B9. B9 is also known as folate, or you'd see it as folic acid in a different form. And this supports the production of dopamine and serotonin, which I talked about earlier. And you can find this in leafy green vegetables, legumes. So you've got, your beans and lentils, citrus fruits as well. And then you've got vitamin B12. Now, vitamin B12 maintains your nerve cell integrity. So it's really important for your nerve cells, those brain cells, and really helps again with neurotransmitter production. So a really important vitamin that is found in animal products. We can only get it from animal products. So again, if you're vegan or vegetarian and you're likely to be low in B12, it's important there to speak to somebody about supplementation of B12 and checking that you've got decent levels of that, because it can really play a role in your mood. We also have vitamin D. Now, this is often known as the sunshine vitamin because we really get most of our intake from sunlight exposure, but it's very important for regulating mood and may help to prevent mood disorders such as depression. There are some, associations certainly between depression found in the scientific literature, but we're finding more and more about the role of vitamin D all the time. But we can find this in food as well. So particularly in things like fatty, oily fish, like salmon and mackerel, and eggs, and some dairy products as well. And we can find that we're particularly low as we, go through the winter, and by the time we come through to early spring, our levels tend to be really low because they haven't been topped up by the sun, unless, of course, you're living in a hot, sunny climate, or you've managed to get away for a lovely hot holiday. And then you've got some minerals as well. Really, really important, these minerals in our mood, and it affects our eating behaviour. So we've got magnesium. Now, this activates enzymes involved in neurotransmitter production, and it particularly the ones that improve mood. And it plays a real role in hormonal balance and can really support the production of progesterone, which tends to be have a calming effect on us as well. And you can find that in nuts, seeds, and leafy greens, and whole grains as well. And I just want to point out whole grains because often people, certainly in my community, who are struggling with their eating behaviour, find that they are really cutting out carbs. And if they're cutting out carbs, it's likely they're cutting out whole grains. And this is just one of the reasons why we need those in our diet, and we need a rich, diverse diet containing all different types of food. Zinc also very much supports that neurotransmitter function, including serotonin, and it is involved in the regulation and production of hormones, including progesterone as well. And we find a lot of zinc in meat and seafood, also in nuts and legumes as well. But important to just be wary of this again if you're on a vegetarian, vegan diet, because zinc can sometimes be low, but you have to really pay attention and get in those zinc-rich containing foods. Iron, again, is another similar issue if you are not necessarily eating meat, so you need to make sure you're getting your iron in from non-heme forms of iron, vegetable forms such as beans and dark green vegetables, but the absorption level is not as good. So most people know that you can get iron particularly from red meat, poultry also, and it's really essential in the production of dopamine and other mood regulating neurotransmitters. However, you don't want too much of it because it can actually have a negative effect if you have too much, because I know that some people think, oh, well, I should be taking iron, therefore I need to just start supplementing. This is one of those minerals that you really need to be careful and have your blood tested to check your iron levels. And you shouldn't be supplementing with this unless your iron levels are particularly low. And certainly if you are supplementing with it, you should be having your blood tested at least every 3 months to just check you're not overdoing it on the iron supplements. You've also got selenium, and this acts as an antioxidant and may influence mood regulation as well, but it's also important for thyroid function, and imbalances in your thyroid hormones can really impact your mood, but also estrogen levels as well. A particularly great source of selenium is Brazil nuts, but also it can be found again in seafood and whole grains, again, another one for whole grains. And finally, I'm talking about the essential fats, particularly omega-3 fats. They are critical for your brain health. They play a role in the formation of your cell membranes, of neurotransmitter function. They affect mood regulation. Really important. And there are particular forms of omega-3s, the EPA and DHA, which you tend to only get those in oily fish, though you can get generally omega-3s in things like flax seeds, chia seeds and walnuts, but they have to go through a process to get in the body to get to that EPA and DHA. So you need to have present particular enzymes to help that process. Some people have genetic variations where they're not as efficient, effective at producing those enzymes. So for some people, it's harder to for them to end up having that DHA and EPA unless they're actually really making sure that they're getting that oily fish in. So worth just noting on that as well. So really important, affecting mood, affecting serotonin, cortisol, which is a stress hormone as well. So lots of things to think about there, but I think my take home is not obsess about individual nutrients. My take home really is this is to show you why it's so important to have a diverse diet. And when you're cutting things out of your diet, for example, if you're cutting fats out of your diet, you might be missing out on those key omega-3s. If you're not cutting proteins out of your diet, you might be missing out on those amino acids. But if you're cutting carbs out of your diet, you might be missing out on those key nutrients, particularly found in whole grains. So it's really about, okay, what can you add in? And when you remove that food chaos, you will find that improves mood, eating behavior. It makes everything more stable and everything easier. I hope you found that helpful today. I'd love to hear your comments, and I will see you again soon.